Thank you. I'm Tom Kotay, a rail trail board member, and I do a significant amount of the grant writing for LVRT Inc. Tod Dissinger to my right is our treasurer and heavily involved in rail trail operations and maintenance. Okay. Nate McCulloch to my left is one of our rail trail engineers, very creative, knowledgeable, and fun to work with individual.
Good point.
And that helps. And that helps.
Fun to work with, wow.
Yeah, he is. He is.
That doesn't sound like it goes with engineer, but that's all right.
Take that as a quote.
Does he do practical jokes or what?
He's not an actuary. He's an
Oh, okay. All right, Tom, you may go ahead.
Okay. In your packet, you can see on the first handout, the first sheet, it shows you the location of project LVRT Phase 10B, as in boy, 10B. This will go from where the rail trail will currently end at Pine Tree Road in Union Township, use the rail bed and go under Interstate 78 and end the trail at Lickdale Road, and that will be the northernmost section of the rail trail that you, the county commissioners, will own. We're currently working with DCNR on a small section of trail and a road crossing that will get us then into all the trail network in Swatara State Park. Really an exciting thing for all of us, and I know you commissioners have been so supportive over the years, and thank you for that. Next handout is just a map that shows all of the different sections or phases of the rail trail and when we might see construction and completion take place. The next page is a double-sided copy of a part of our application that just gives you more details on this rail trail segment, about 2.8 miles of trail. And this, folks, if you haven't been out there, is the most drop-dead gorgeous section of the trail. Very pristine, very unique. The land was always owned by a doctor here in the area. The county acquired the property, but it is just beautiful. Swatara Creek through this area is amazing. There's native trout production. There's Baltimore Oriole colonies out there. There's anything and everything. When John Wengert talks about it, he says you're out like in Wyoming or something when you're on that portion of the trail in the future. It is that beautiful. And I need to say, John would have been here today, but his mother is very, very ill.
Oh.
In the Hershey Med Center. She's in her 90s and failing pretty badly. So if we could, let's keep John and his mom in our thoughts and prayers as well. Okay. Yeah, she's a great woman.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, a great woman. But those next pages, if you look in the back of that handout on the rail trail documentation, it shows the funding split we're proposing for this. The DCNR grant application that we're asking your approval of today would be for $750,000, and we're currently negotiating with PennDOT on the balance of $2.45 million. They have two funding sources for us to pursue in that regard, and it looks very, very positive that we will get that match from them later this year.
Wonderful.
Okay. Also in the packet is Nate's detailed cost estimate for the project. Detailed cost estimate for the project. Again, about $3.2 million. There's some contingency fees in there that help us to adjust and deal with inflation or anything that happens along the way that's sort of a bump in the road. The last document I have for you is our March 2023 LVRT update. That just tells you a lot about what's going on in the whole spectrum of the trail from Lancaster County all the way northward to Swatara State Park. Today we're asking you to approve our grant application via signing a resolution. I think Dawn and Jamie have the resolution that needs to be signed. We need your approval to submit that along with the application. So that's our first order of business.
Okay, do we want a motion to approve?
And I'll wholeheartedly second that motion.
And this is for the grant application.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the, I'm sorry?
I have a question before.
Oh, I thought you were voting.
No.
Go
The
ahead.
fourth
Come on,
commissioner
Jamie,
speaks.
talk to us.
I knew Tom was going to talk about how gorgeous and beautiful this is out there. Nate, are there any challenges to the site? This is pretty remote.
Yeah, there's certainly two challenges, given it's 2.8 miles. Pretty much you're landlocked, you can't get there from 72, so we have to come in from Pine Tree Road, which is kind of a backcountry road, which that access will be created as part of Phase 10A, which I think the commissioners previously provided funding for, and we matched with DCNR funds.
Correct.
And then we'll be coming in from the, I think it's the May property up at 72, again, kind of restricted access. And then there is a pretty large washout where the railroad used to have 3 stone culverts, and they're just blown out. So we have to somehow get a bridge into that, which it's, I would say that's about midway, Todd, or maybe 2/3.
2/3, yeah.
2/3 of the way up to Lickdale Road. So those are kind of the two big challenges we have in getting through the May property, which I think LVRT has been coordinating quite well with that.
Yeah, if you haven't, we have signs out there, I'm gonna make sure this is clear, it's not open to the public. We have signs, no trespassing. But with the officials that wanna go out there, our volunteer group have cleared that whole path, all the way up to May property, have a fence there right now. So you can walk it, and it is beautiful. Now, when you get to where the Pine Tree Road entrance will be, you kinda come off of which was the tow path, back onto the rail bed. You kinda gotta go across like this, so you can see where we're walking, but that thing was just trees and jagger bushes and everything, so it's clear. So if you want to walk it, go have fun. It's really enjoyable out back here.
Add to Tom's description of it, at one point you're walking by like a 50-foot rock face with the Swatara Creek on your right. It's amazing, and then you can see canal remnants the whole way up through there, locks. It's quite an asset.
Wow.
So this is gonna be one of the most remote, isolated sections of the rail, if not. We don't have a whole lot of places where you go 2 miles and there's
Yeah,
just
between
nothing.
Phase 9 and Phase 10, this is the most remote.
Does
How
that-
many miles is it?
It's 2.8 miles is 10B, 0.7 miles is 10A. So from Jonestown all the way up to Lickdale, that's probably close to 3 or 4, probably 4
Over
miles.
3 miles maybe, yeah.
So does the isolation present any problems as far as users, things like that in the future, or is that?
I would say it's similar to the Pine Creek Trail.
Okay,
And the DNL Trail is very remote in sections like this for much longer lengths.
Okay.
And those don't have issues, just given the number of users that are out there all the time. And it's obviously dusk to dawn, so users should only be out there in daylight.
Is there cell phone service?
I have been able to get service all the way up through there.
Okay.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Well, that's good. So if there's an emergency, they can call for 911 service
Yeah.
and get an ambulance. We can get an ambulance back
I
in.
think you meant dawn to dusk.
Oh, yeah.
They said it was fun. I don't know.
That was fun.
And Nate said something important, that as the rail trail is vigorously being used, that's a self-policing mechanism in so many aspects of what we deal with in the operation of the trail. Folks, self-police, or get to us with information that we can make the trail use bigger and better.
How's the coating you put on under that tunnel that was really bad with graffiti and got cleaned up? Is that holding up, or is
Yeah,
it?
yes.
Okay, I mean, people
Yes.
aren't able to spray paint it and,
Well, so far, we've been blessed. We had a group of volunteers out there, and Sherwin-Williams was kind enough to donate the product to put
Oh,
on,
really?
onto
That's
that,
great.
so, yeah.
wow,
So
that's
it's
fantastic.
been good so far.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second, and any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved. All right.
Thank you. The second item we have is, if you've been in the city of Lebanon or in North Cornwall Township on Chestnut Street, you see that we're advancing the phases 6A and 6B project. Really exciting work. We had a groundbreaking ceremony, and the commissioners, you were there, and thank you for participating in that, and others as well. It's just, again, a really great time that we're carving out this trail through the really dense urbanized area of Lebanon City and County. And that phases 6A and 6B will run from essentially near H.A. Boyd all the way west to 22nd Street with a connection then into North Cornwall Township's Gloninger Woods Park. Okay, so that's the length and of that project. A very costly project, a lot of utilities involved, and a lot of things that Nate has coordinated on with, the city and the township and all the utilities in that corridor. but we're underway, and that's a great thing, and a lot of different funding sources used in that project. But today, we need you to address and be a co-signer of some of these post-construction stormwater management agreements. You and North Cornwall Township need to sign these. I provided them to Dawn and Jamie, and after the meeting, you can sign those, and John Fitzke will then take those out to North Cornwall Township for further execution and notarization. If you have any questions about those documents, Nate can probably answer the how and why we have to do these documents.
Yeah, there's actually one for the city of Lebanon too.
Yes, there is, I'm
Because
sorry.
the first 6A is from 16th Street back to what will be the John Wengert Park.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some stormwater features mostly in the park, and then some minor linear features going through North Cornwall Township up to Glenning or Woods. And obviously, just as the landowner and developer, you have to acknowledge you'll take care of those for the long term. Otherwise, the township can come in and take care of them and charge you. So, and I think ultimately is, and correct me if I'm wrong, board members, ultimately LVRT will be doing the maintenance
Yes.
on behalf of the county.
That
They're a
is
separate
correct.
agreement.
That is correct. That is correct. You own the facility, we operate and maintain it. We have a Lebanon Valley Rail Trail Asset Management Plan that's guiding and directing us in all of those aspects of taking good care of what we have and love.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, we are so fortunate that we have this partnership. Thank you. And I'd like to make a motion to approve Phase 6A and B post-construction stormwater management and OM agreement.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and the only other thing I wanted to add is there's a safety component upgrade for this, intersection also that's gonna come about as a result of this, so
Yes.
that's another feature that, in addition to the beautification and the quality of life for the trail and all that, we're gonna get some upgrade with the intersection there.
At 16th and Chestnut Streets, that is correct. And there, John Fitzke worked with PennDOT to get additional funding to do that work. That was outside the initial scope, and that got revised, and John got us additional funding through PennDOT, some discretionary money.
22nd Street in Chestnut.
Yeah, and,
I'm sorry, what am I saying?
You said
Well, no,
16th.
you're correct.
They're both-
The 16th and Chestnut is part of 6A and B.
Yeah.
Phase 6C will upgrade 22nd Street to align that intersection. You won't have the pull-out issues.
Yep.
But that project was just kicked off in January. So we're working with PennDOT on that. Hopefully looking at late summer of 2024 to get something to construction. But there's certainly some issues to overcome in terms of the floodplain there.
Could you talk a little bit, I had a lot of calls on this, or emails, or Facebook posts, whatever, concerning the trees coming down along Chestnut Street. I'm pretty 99% sure that is for the rail trail, but could you elaborate on that if you know anything about it?
Yes, they are. That's the initial work that's being done to clear and grub the right-of-way needed for the trail as it moves, east to west along Chestnut Street. Yeah, all of that is part of our project.
And will that be elevated at the level it is most?
Yes, for the most part, from kind of the dense urban housing up to Glenning or Woods, it'll be elevated kind of on that higher portion of the embankment you see.
Okay, and in front of those apartments along there, how will it run there? Because it looks like it's developed as part of their yards. Will just the sidewalk go in? Will it go behind
Correct,
them?
the right-of-way extends beyond the utilities there. So there will be an actual 10-foot sidewalk with a little over a 2-foot grass buffer, and there's a 7-foot parking lane in front of that.
Oh.
As part of it, North Cornwall Township wanted us to slow traffic on 16th, or on Chestnut Street. And so we presented different roadway configurations for them, and they approved narrow lanes with parking on both sides of the road, all within the right-of-way.
So that should help slow it down then.
Correct, it'll slow it down, provide delineated parking, and provide a nice 10-foot wide walkway to connect pedestrians all the way from 16th up to Glenninger.
I appreciate that verbal because, again, there's a lot of interest in what's going on with those trees. Thank you.
And it's really interesting that the concept is where those townhouses are, that the parking will be a buffer, and then a little grass buffer, and then the rail trail on the northern side of Chestnut, giving, the users of the trail there a very safe environment to be, very safe environment to be. And that's, again, because of the design expertise we have in Nate and others at Wilson Consulting. It's terrific. They're very creative. This is a really unique
And fun.
project.
You made him
Yep.
blush.
Oh,
Thank you all for your work.
yeah.
It's quite a contrast when you talk about the northern, you know, how far
Yes.
out that is, now you're into the, where it's gonna be highly trafficked and yeah, it's just a great combination for our county.
Were there any trees of value that came down? I saw one big one.
Why not have some controversy? Yes.
Yeah.
Just asking.
I do not know.
Yeah, as part of our environmental clearance, there are some trees at 16th Street, which were possibly planted as part of a Safe Walk to School program. So as part of that, we're replanting trees
Oh, okay.
in John Wengert Park to offset
Okay.
that.
Well, that's nice to know, too. Thank you.
Keep in mind, eventually that whole area will change,
Mm-hmm.
because you've approved that being part of the whole stormwater absorption.
Yeah.
Remember that? So that, the complexion of that entire acreage there is going to change.
Yeah, and a new bridge on 22nd Street, and the rail trail will be on the west side of the roadway. We have all the agreements now filed and recorded with the property at the Lebanon Valley Motorcycle Club, so things are really picking up. Picking up. So thank you for all your support
I think
over the
Mike
many
men-
years.
Yeah, Mike mentioned it, but my thanks also for the partnership and the, you know, the triangle of the funders at the state level and the county and the, you know, your organization, Rail Trails. It's been a great relationship, so we thank you.
Well, I mentioned the two of the commissioners about how our group of volunteers is just fantastic. And if it wouldn't be for the volunteers and the donations that we receive to help us take care of the trail. So, again, I appreciate the work you guys are doing too, so.
All right, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved. All in and all done.